Good afternoon, everybody. Um, let me just reply to a couple of students that are just connecting and they are not able to log in to the Zoom's meeting, and we will get started. Okay. Thank you. So good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you to this spring semester 2021, a new year. Hopefully we are energized and we are ready to get back to work. So I'm going to be your instructor. My name is Eduardo Perez. This is for IE4355, Facilities Planning. And this is a class that is taken by both industrial engineering students and manufacturing engineering students. So I welcome the manufacturing engineering students. They probably don't know me, so I'm a faculty member in the industrial engineering program. So I want to welcome you to this class, and hopefully the material that we are going to discuss in this class is useful for your degree. So as I mentioned already, I'm an associate professor in the Ingram School of Engineering, and I have offered this class many times already throughout my 8 years here at Texas State University. So it's a very interesting class. It's a course that discusses a lot of important topics related to how to design a facility from the interior of the facility, like the layout, the location of machines, the location of departments, but also discusses the outside component of facilities planning. So location, where to locate the facility based on demand, based on the location of your customers and so on. So it's a different point of views, and we're going to look at that as part of the introduction today. One thing that I wanted to mention before we get started is that if you have questions, feel free to ask those questions. You can use the chat or you can interrupt me as we speak. So let's get started. I'm going to show the full screen for the slides. And I'm going to turn off my video because connection sometimes the connection gets lower. So facilities planning. The idea for today's lecture is to give you an introduction to the class and also to discuss the syllabus for this class. This class, the code is IE4355 251. So make sure that you have enrolled in this class. I think we are the only section for the class this semester. But always make sure that you are enrolled in the class, because if not, then you might not get the messages or access to the Canvas and so on. The title, Facilities Planning. I'm your instructor, Eduardo Perez, and this is scheduled to be an online class. And the meeting times for this class are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., 6:20 p.m., an hour and 20 minutes. The agenda for today, we are going to talk about the introduction and the motivation for this class. So hopefully towards the end of this section, you will have a good understanding of what to expect in terms of the material that we are going to discuss this semester. And then we'll go together through the syllabus, basically explain the rules, how we're gonna evaluate your performance, and how you're gonna get access to the material for the class. And after that, I'm going to provide a brief introduction of my background and what are other things that we do in addition to teaching. And finally, we are going to talk about the email etiquette. So communication via email is very important when you're teaching a virtual class, so an online class. So we want to make sure that we discuss how to get an efficient communication via email. So let's start with course introduction and motivation. I always start the lecture with this question. Most of my classes that are engineering related are always start with this question. And the reason why I ask this question is sometimes students don't know what an engineer do, even if they're pursuing a degree in engineering. Typically, I will get many answers for this question, depending on the field that they are studying. But the answer, or the right answer for the question, is an engineer is someone who solves problems. And these problems are of interest to the society. With the efficient application of the scientific principles by refining existing products or designing new products or processes. So again, what we do as engineers to solve problems. We are basically the doctors of the systems, or the doctors of the robots, or the doctors of any engineering system. So we try to make this system work efficiently, and we try to refine them by new designs or designing new products or processes to achieve or to solve a particular problem. The creative process typically, or this is what we call the engineering method. So if you are trying to address a problem that requires engineering, these are the steps that you typically pursue. And these are the steps that we are going to follow also when we address problems related to facilities planning. So we want to develop a clear description of the problem. We want to identify the important factors that are associated to that problem. And we want to propose a model that will help us answer or to solve this problem or answer questions related to this problem. Why do we need a model? The model is going to allow us to conduct experiments, and based on those experiments, we can propose or we can manipulate the model until we're able to confirm the best solution for the problem. And then using that information, we can provide some conclusions, recommendations to your boss if you're working in industry, or to the customer if you're working for a specific customer. So this is the idea again. You have to have a good understanding of the problem. You identify the factors that are relevant associated to the solution or the final goal of solving that problem. You will use a model to conduct experiments because the model is going to help you get some insight about the problem, and then based on those insights, you provide a solution or you recommend a solution. So using that same mentality, we're going to proceed with our concepts in facilities planning. So why study facilities planning? Facilities planning determines how an activities tangible fixed asset best support achieving the activity's objective. So for example, in manufacturing, the objective is to support production. In an airport, the objective is to support the passenger airplane interface. In a hospital, the objective is to provide medical care to patients. So in addition to having the doctors, having the nurses, and having the patient there, you have to provide this environment that will allow you to carry out this activity for the benefit of the patient. Same thing for the airport with the passengers, and same thing with the manufacturing process in terms of completing the product. So in this slide, I have what I call the hierarchy of facilities planning, and we have these two areas that I briefly mentioned at the beginning of the lecture. We have the facility location aspect, and we have the facility design aspect. Facility location is looking at, okay, you need to increase your warehouse capacity. For example, if you're looking at Amazon, and then you're looking for the best place to locate your next warehouse. So that problem of finding the best location for that new warehouse is what we call the facility location. The facility design is once you have the location of the facility and you have the building, how do you design that interior of the facility so the processes that you are going to perform are efficient and are designed in a way that you can complete the goals for the process or for the company. So for the location, we have the expectations here is the placement of the facility with respect to customers, suppliers, and other facilities with which it interfaces. For the structure, consists of the building and services. So we are going to talk about some of them as part of this course. For example, the requirements in terms of heat, cooling systems, and so on. The layout, we're going to discuss how to locate departments and how to locate things within the space of the facility. And the handling system, we're going to cover how the different equipment that are available for material handling purposes. In terms of strategic facilities planning issues, the number, location, and sizes of warehouses and or distribution centers are typically the major problem. Centralized versus decentralized storage supplies, raw materials, work in process, and finished goods for single and multi-building sites, acquisition of existing facilities versus design of model factories and distribution centers of the future, interface between storage and manufacturing, and finally, the movement of materials between buildings and between sites. In terms of facilities design, there's two approaches that are commonly used. The first one is called the sequential approach, and is often compared with the integrated approach. The sequential approach is what we are showing in this slide, in which you start with the product design, you follow with the process design, then you establish your facility layout, the material handling systems, and finally your production planning. As you can see in this slide, there is a step-by-step process. There's no interaction between product design and facility layout. There's no interaction between product design and production planning. So this basically is you complete one step and then you move to the next one. You complete by one step and then you move to the next one. So if you get stuck in the product design, the other 4 areas are not worked until you finish the product design. This is often compared with the integrated approach, in which you have all areas working in collaboration to get the final design or the most optimal design for your process. So as you can see in this picture, for example, product design received the input from schedule design and process design and layout design. So these 4 areas are working concurrently to achieve the same goal. Okay, so those are the differences. This integrated approach have shown impressive results in cost, quality, productivity, sales, customer satisfaction, delivery time, and many other performance measurements. So having an understanding of how my product design can affect the schedule design and can affect my material handling is shown to have good results when you're designing your final layout for the facility. So getting the input from all areas as you move forward with the final solution is important as part of facilities planning. So most of the material that we are going to cover, I mean, we're going to touch in all these areas, but most of the material that we're going to cover in this course is related to the layout design of a facility. So by facility layout, I mean something like I'm showing in this picture. So you have a space and you're in charge of defining where each department is located and which equipment is used in each one of these departments and what type of process is performed in each one of these departments. So this means planning for the location of machines, utilities, employee workstations, customer service areas, material storage areas, aisles, restrooms, lunchrooms, internal walls, offices, and computer rooms for the flow patterns of materials and people around, into, and within buildings. So again, we're going to focus most of our efforts this semester in designing facilities from this perspective. So we will define some algorithms that are going to help us achieve those goals. And we're going to use some, we're going to draw some maps. We're going to use some of the existing tools to determine the best flow between departments and how to locate departments that have a lot of interaction closer to each other when constrained by space. So what are some of the characteristics of the facility layout decision? First, the location of these various areas impacts the flow through the system. So things like if you are designing a facility and you have only 2 docks available, planning the location of certain areas of the facility are going to be constrained based on the interaction that you have with those 2 docks for shipping, for example. So if you have a department such as a warehouse that have a lot of interaction with the docks, you want to make sure that that warehouse is located close to those docks because you know that there's a lot of flow going between them. So you don't want to have that warehouse located far away from the docks. So that's the type of idea or the type of information that we will need to know in order to make those decisions. Oh, how much flow is happening between these 2 areas? So if you have an office, let's say you have a production planning office, and then you have the production floor. Typically, there's a lot of information going on between planning and the actual production. So you want to make sure that those 2 departments are located close to each other and so on. And we are going to define some methods to make sure that we try to locate those departments that have high flow close to each other while looking at all departments associated with the design. Layout alternatives are limited by the amount and type of space required for the various areas, the amount of type of space available, and the operation strategy. Layout decisions tends to be infrequent. So, and you can think about why, like if you're designing a building from scratch, let's say the interior of the building, you want to make sure that you make those decisions because those are going to be fixed for a long period of time. You don't want to be moving things, machines, connections, pipes frequently, right? So that's why we say that these decisions are infrequent. They're also expensive to implement. And that's why they're studied and evaluated extensively because they require long-term commitments. A layout problem may be to determine the location of a new machine, to develop a new layout for an existing product or a plant, or develop a layout for a new production plant, among others. A layout problem may arise due to changes in the design of a product, addition or deletion of a product, change in the demand of a product, changes in the design of the process, addition or deletion of a process, or replacement of equipment. So as an undergrad, I got it, well, before I was a graduate student, I worked for Johnson & Johnson, and one of the projects that I was involved was in the changes in the production of a equipment used to produce Tylenol. So they had this long process that took a lot of space in the facility, and they were replacing that process by a single machine that was doing most of the mix of the medicine. And that was saving some space for the facility, which was translated into saving space, translated into cost saving. So adding this new process that required less space was a very well-planned endeavor, because we needed to make sure that this machine was located in the right place. So everything related going around that machine was access to the machine was efficient, and so on. So that's just one example of many things that, or one of the things that I mentioned in this list. I'm also right now involved with a layout problem in a project with the Department of Homeland Security, looking at the checkpoint design for airports. So even though it's not a manufacturing process, it's the same idea. So you are all familiar with the checkpoint designs. You have these people looking at travel document, the checkers of the travel documents, and then you move into the X-ray machines, and you have to take your shoes and so on, and then you go through the X-ray machines, and then you move forward. You take your luggage and you move forward. So the idea is, can we find ways to improve this process? Is there any machine? Is there a better setup? It's better layout that we can use so we can speed up passengers through this process? That's a layout facility problem. So again, many issues, many changes in the design, but the same goal. You want a layout that is achieving the goals of the company, in this case, the Department of Homeland Security. Proper layouts enables higher utilization of space, equipment, and people, improve flow of information, materials, or people, improve employee morale, and safer working conditions. And this is often not, I mean, there's probably not a lot of people looking at this, but improve employee morale is very important. Safer working conditions. You want to make sure that people feel safe when they're working in a specific environment, and also that the conditions are like, if you can provide a layout that allows them to feel safe and also that allow them to do their work efficiently, that translate into better output for your products. Improve customer client interaction and flexibility. Again, poor layout costs you time and money. Time, because if it's a bad layout, things will take longer to be completed. Money, because if you're not using your resources in an efficient way, then there will be lower utilization, let's say, of machines, lower utilization of your space, and that translates into cost. I like to bring examples to the discussion. I like this one because this is an example that most of us will be familiar with. So everybody knows McDonald's. So McDonald's was one of these companies that made the facility layout concepts one of their drivers. If you have look at, I mean, there's a movie that looks at the origins of the McDonald's restaurants. I don't remember the name now, But this is not looking at that. This is looking at all the things that they did that improved their efficiency and those that were related to facility layout. So some of the things include not food prepared ahead of the patty, elimination of some steps, shortening others, the development of a new bun toasting machine that takes 11 seconds instead of 30 seconds, repositioning condiment containers, requiring one motion, not two, sandwiches assembled in order, production levels controlled by a computer, discard only meat when sandwiches do not sell fast enough, and that only those changes provided savings of 100 million per year in food costs. But in terms of facility innovations, over the years, they were the ones that started the indoor seating. That was in 1950s. They were the ones starting the drive-through window in 1970s. They were the ones adding breakfast to the menu in 1980s, and they were the ones who added the play areas in 1990s. So 3 out of the 4 are layout decisions, and those are easy to highlight, right? Only the breakfast to the menu is not a layout decision, the other 3 are. And these are things that you say, okay, those are simple ideas, but those translate into better service and also having more customers coming to your restaurants and having higher throughputs in this case. There are certain levels, layout levels that are listed here in this table. Level 1 is the global aspect, includes the site location and selection. The supra level is the site planning, building, or site features. So for example, site location was, okay, I need to locate in Texas. The supra level will say, okay, I need to be located in Austin, Texas. Then you get the macro layout, building, department, or block layout. So that's the actual designing of the facility. The micro layout looks at the design inside each department, and the sub-micro layout looks at the design of workstations. So you go from workstation to departments to the actual facility to selecting the building features and the location, and then selecting the global location of that facility. So here's some extra description. At the global level, we select the site location. This involves factors such as freight costs, labor costs, skill availability, and site focus. At the supra level, we plan the site. This includes the number, size, and location of buildings. It includes infrastructure such as roads, water, gas, and rail. This plan should look ahead to plant expansions and eventual site saturation. So one big facility that is currently being developed in the Austin area is the Tesla production facility. So if you drive towards Austin and you take the tollway, you will see that on your right at some point when you get closer to the airport. So that's a big thing going on, and they have space there has a lot of space there and space for expansion, good location, close to the highway, close to the airport, and so on. The macro layout plans each building, structure, and other sub-unit of the site. Operating departments are defined and located at this level. Frequently, this is the most important level of planning. A macro layout institutionalizes the fundamental organizational structure in steel and concrete. The micro level determines the location of specific equipment and furniture. The emphasis shifts from gross material flow to personal space and communication. And this involves some social technical considerations. Like now you're dealing with the people and how the design affects the behavior of the people. And the sub-micro level focuses on individual workers. Here we design workstations for efficiency, effectiveness, and safety. Okay, so at this point, I want to know if there's any questions. Let me turn on my camera. If there's any questions, feel free to ask those questions. Again,
Did you say that, I don't know if you mentioned it, there's software that helps you determine like the best layouts and
yes, so there's some algorithms that we are going to discuss in class that allow you to determine the location of the departments based on the flow of, let's say, materials between departments or the flow of information between departments and so on. So we are going to discuss those as part of the lecture. Yes.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other question? And again, I want, even though this, I know this environment, this online environment, it's different. Asking questions and stopping the video lectures, sometimes a difficult process. So if you have questions, make sure, I mean, if you don't stay with that question, send me an email. We can plan to discuss offline or via email. Just make sure that you have the confidence to email me or to connect with me if you have questions. So let's talk about the syllabus. Again, I'm turning off the camera because sometimes the connection is not as fast. So camera make it slower. So let's talk about the syllabus. So I'm your instructor. Again, Eduardo Perez. I'm an associate professor in the English School of Engineering for the Industrial Engineering program. The best way to communicate with me if we are out of the office hours is via email. So you can send me an email. I check my email frequently during the week. Typically from 8 to 5, I will respond automatically. Like if you send me an email, I'll respond quickly. After 5 o'clock, I might respond later at night, like late night. Over the weekends, I will respond on Sundays. Saturdays, I might not respond. But feel free to email me and I will respond as soon as possible. I have posted my LinkedIn and my Twitter accounts here because I typically get these internships or job opportunities and via those two networks. So if I see opportunities for the students, then I will forward them through those specific networks. So if you would like to connect with me, you can do that. That's typically the only reason I hold these accounts is to share information with the students. So you're welcome to connect with me via LinkedIn or to follow my Twitter. The virtual lecture time. So this class is scheduled on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 6:20 p.m. The Zoom link for the lectures is I send you. I mean, you can access those links in the modules every day. The password is facilities is also listed as part of the link to connect for the class. So let me show you that. So if you have access to Canvas, this is the facilities planning. This is your view as a student. So if you go to modules, you see here you have the module for today, week 1, January 19. This is lecture 0, course introduction. So here's the Zoom link and the password. The password is not going to change. It's always going to be facilities. But in case you forget, the password is listed there. And then these are the slides. And then you have a quick homework, just a survey that you have to complete by next week. So you will have access to that. And then so everything that is related to the lecture for that day is going to be posted in this way. So everything is going to be within a module. So for January 21st, you will see another module with all the information related to the lecture for Thursday and so on for every Tuesday and Thursday. Something else that I will discuss in a few minutes is that our lectures are going to be recorded. Okay, so I'm going to post a link with the video for the lecture. So for example, on Thursday, you will access the module, and inside the module, there's going to be a video that I'm going to record with the lecture for Thursday. However, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to connect. I'm going to connect at 5 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday to answer questions related to the lecture for that day or for the lectures for the days before. So I want to make sure that you have access to ask questions, but the actual lecture is going to be recorded. Okay, so you will see the lecture, you will see the video. The video is going to be available. I make the modules available in the morning. So if you want to look at the video during the day, and then know that at 5 p.m. I'm going to connect, and I'm going to be available to answer questions related to the lecture for that day or from previous lectures. Is that clear? Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So is every lecture going to be recorded then?
Every lecture is going to be recorded, but I'll be available at 5 p.m. to answer questions related to the lecture.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's every Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure, I mean, if you don't have to connect every day, but if you have questions, please connect at 5 p.m. I'm going to be available to answer those questions for you during the scheduled time for the class. Then I also will hold office hours Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. So the Zoom link is in this slide and also is available in the syllabus. So you don't need to have a password to join my office hours. You can just click on the link and I'll be available to help you during the office hours. Just understand that sometimes a couple of students will join at the same time. So if there's another student, I'll put you on hold until I finish with the other student. Or if you want to set up an appointment, that's another option. So we can set up an appointment outside the office hours. So you have those three options to connect with me. You can connect with me at 5 p.m. To ask questions. You can connect with me during my office hours, or you can set up an appointment and we can talk via Zoom to answer your questions or any doubts that you might have about the class. Or you can send me an email. Just make sure, I mean, you have those options. Use the one that you feel is better for you. Let's see. Next. We're going to have a teaching assistant that is going to help us with the grading of the assignments and the labs. I will explain what the labs means in a minute. So basically, labs are similar to the assignments, but the labs are shorter. It's just one problem related to the material that we cover on a specific date. Labs are shorted, so typically they have shorted. You have shorter amount of time to work with them. So typically they're assigned so for you to submit on the next day after the lecture. Assignments, I typically assign the assignments are assigned to be completed within a week. So that's the major difference. I use the labs to make sure that you are connecting to the lectures and that you are trying to solve problems associated to the lectures. They are not every day, but you need to keep track of the modules to see if there's a lab associated with that lecture for the day. Okay, so so that's the idea. Now we'll talk about that a little more now. So a teaching assistant will grade the homework. I'm sorry, there should be labs. There's no quizzes. I mean, there's no quizzes. There's gonna be exams. So, but quizzes are not are not. It should be labs. I'm sorry. Let me just say labs. Okay. Sometimes he or she will help me prepare some of the class materials, like the handouts and so on. But this is going to be a graduate student for the industrial engineering department. So if you know this person, don't reach out to him or her. Just contact me. I'm going to be the person in charge of answering questions and so on. The teaching assistant is just helping with the grading. I'm going to be grading the exams. The course objectives, they're listed here. They're also listed in your syllabus. So the idea, the first three objectives are these three bullets. Learn formulation models and analytical procedures for the study of facilities layout planning. Learn fundamental principles of material handling and be able to design layouts incorporating products, process, and personal requirements. These three objectives that are listed here are associated with our AVET accreditation. So as part of this class, I'm going to assign you some of the assignments, and the project itself will connect with some of these objectives. They are more into the impact of engineering design in society and so on. Okay, so if you want to read through them on your own, you're welcome to do that. But remember, these three objectives are connected to our AVET accreditation for this class and for our program. Okay, so how will we pursue the objectives? So again, Dr. Perez record the lectures using Zoom. The recorded video lectures will be available at the course schedule time. So in this case, since the lecture is very late in the afternoon, I'm gonna make the modules available in the morning. So these lectures will be recorded and posted in Canvas in the modules. Dr. Perez will use the modules tool within Canvas to upload the lecture videos, list the assignment and due dates, and provide additional instructions per lecture. Lectures will be conducted following the schedule stated on the syllabus. Once posted, the video lectures will be available for the students to access them anytime during the semester. Students will be notified when videos are posted using Canvas email tool. Assignment, labs, and project. The assignments, labs, and project will be posted in Canvas using the assignment tools. Students will upload their solutions in Canvas using the assignment tool, and the feedback and grades will be available in Canvas in the grades tool. The exams will be posted and available in Canvas following the schedule stated in the syllabus. Dr. Perez will design the exams to limit academic dishonesty, and Dr. Perez will use the quizzes tool within Canvas to administer the exams. So we're gonna have 3 exams this semester and a final that is optional. So the final is optional, and I'm gonna discuss that in a minute. So the day of the exam is going to be scheduled during the time period of the class, so from 5 to 6:20. You are going to access the exam online using the quizzes tool, and you will have 1 hour and 20 minutes to complete the exam. And that's the idea. Then the office hours, you know, the Dr. Perez will hold office hours as scheduled in the syllabus. Dr. Perez will use Zoom to communicate with the students during the office hours. Dr. Perez will be available to the students online during the office hours. Students will be able to join a meeting with the professor without an appointment. If you cannot see me during the office hours, you're welcome to set up an appointment via email, and we will schedule an appointment for you. The course textbook is Tompkins Facilities Planning 4th edition. So I have a copy of it with me right here. So this is the book. I don't know if you can see it. Facilities planning. Okay. So I think we have access to the book on the library. I don't think we have online access to this book. But my recommendation is you need the book as a reference. I try to help the students by and give you the information. Like for example, in the assignments, I provide you with the problems, so you don't have to look at the problems in the book. But the book is useful as a reference, like when we cover material, if you want to go read the sections that are part of that material, those are listed in the syllabus. You can go to the book and read the sections to complement your learning. So it's not needed for the assignments because I'm going to provide you with the problems in the assignments, but the book is important in case you want to read the sections associated with the materials that we're discussing in class. So for me, I got a question from one of the students saying whether to buy it like a hard copy or electronic copy of the book. My answer was I would go for the less expensive option. I know the book is very expensive. So if you want to access the book electronically and it's less expensive for you, then that should be enough. So it's up to you. The course website is Canvas. So we're gonna manage this class via Canvas using the site that I have created for the class. And this is the exam schedule. So I don't like to accumulate a lot of material for this class. So I have split the material in 3 exams, February 18, March 30, and April 29. And the final exam is scheduled by the university on May the 6th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. So in terms of the exam, as I mentioned, the final exam is not required in the sense that, and I'll go through that in a minute. Let's talk about the assignments first. Assignments are due at the beginning of the schedule lecture time. So I'm going to make the assignments due at the beginning of the lecture time for this class. So if it's due next week, it's going to be due on next week on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Okay, so you have to submit before the start of the lecture time. Submitted work must be professionally presented without exemption. No late work will be accepted. Makeup assignments will not be given. Any student who fails to submit a graded assignment on time will be awarded a 0 score unless there exists a legitimate medical emergency reasons and valid documentation is furnished. Labs are practice problems assigned during the lecture time. You'll be required to work and submit your answers before the end of the day for the class period the lab was assigned. So knowing that this class is late, for certain labs, I might give you an extra day. But the idea of the labs is that you watch the video for that day. And sometimes what I'm going to do is just ask you to complete one of the problems that we were discussing in class. So you should be able to do that in 5-10 minutes. Okay, so for those problems, then I might ask you to complete like the lab by 11:59 p.m. of that day. If I understand that you need more time, then I will give you an extra day. So I just want you to understand the difference between the assignments and the lab. The assignments, you will have multiple problems. You have a week to work on the assignment. But for the labs, these are things that are associated with the lecture for the day. You're not gonna get a lab every lecture, but there'll be some lectures in which I'm going to ask you to complete the problem or to work on a similar problem that we discuss in class. And labs are going to be short. And the purpose is that I make sure that you are following the material that we are discussing for that day. So my advice is for you to keep track of the modules, that you look at the lectures on the day that are scheduled for you. You look at the video that day. And if you have a lab, you complete the lab. The labs should be easy for you to get full score. You just have to submit them on time. And they are due the same day of the lecture or the next day after the lecture. Okay, so here's what I meant by having an optional final exam. So final exams are the final exam. I use the final exam to help students improve their grade, meaning that if you have an 87 and you have, if you take the final and you do well, you might get to 90 and get the A. If you have 67 and you take the final and you do well, you might get to the 70 or 70 something to get the C, and so on. So so on the left, you have the grade distribution with the final exam. So in those cases, if you didn't do well on the 3 exams and you take the final, that should help you do better for the class. But on the other side, if you did very well on the first 3 exams and you feel that your grade at the end of the semester is good and you want to keep that grade, then you don't have to take the final. I have one question here. Okay, so the question is if the final exam is comprehensive or if it is just additional or new material after the 3rd exam. The answer for that is the exam will include the material for the whole semester. However, my experience is, even though it's the material for the whole for all the semester, the students tend to do very well on the final. So typically it will help them improve their grade. So that's my experience. So don't get discouraged if it is, it needs to be comprehensive, because the idea is that you show me that you learned the material for the semester. Even though if you didn't do well on the partials, if you show me that you did that you learned the material by taking the final and doing well, that for me shows that you learned the material. So that's the way I see it. If you didn't do well in exam 1, 2, and 3, but you take the final and you do very well, that means that you went back, you learned the material, or you understood the material, and then that you mastered the material basically, and you deserve a better grade. That's the way that I see the final. So for those students that do well in exam 1, 2, and 3, let's say at the end you have a 91. You can keep your grade, you will get an A. If you get 81 and you want to keep that, you're welcome. So you're welcome, Robert. If you have an 81 and you want to keep that 81, then that's fine too. You get a B in the class. So it's not only for the people that have a 90 or better. This could be also if you have a 71 and you want to keep your 71, that's fine. So it's up to the student whether or not they want to take the final. So that's why I call it optional. You have to keep in mind that this only will help students that are somehow close to the next grade. Like if you have an 81, the final exam is not going to help you to get to 90, but you have an 86, 87, you want to take the final, then the final exam can help you. So that's the way you have to see it. The course grade is as follows. Yeah, I follow the standard curve. So if you take the final, I typically curve after the final. If you don't take the final, I don't curve. But if you take the final, I will curve. If I feel the performance of the class is requiring me for a curve. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that for you to keep I will not curve if you don't take the final. That's the idea. So I reserve the right to curve, but you have to take the final. If a test is missed, you must have a written authorized excuse if possible. Please let me know before the test. Otherwise, I must be notified within 2 days of your return to school. Missing an exam without a written authorized excuse will result in a 0 grade for that item. So if I know accidents will happen, I know people can get sick. So if you are sick and you need to see a doctor, let me know, go see the doctor, get a note, and we will reschedule the exam. If you get, I don't know, something happened with you, you got into a car accident, show me some type of proof and we will reschedule. So I will work with you. Just let me know beforehand or right away, and we can work together into rescheduling the exam if an accident happened or if you get sick. Any disagreements regarding the grade received on any material must be discussed within 1 week of the return of the graded material. So for example, if I post the grades for the exam today, Tuesday, and I send you an email saying, okay, the exam 1 grades are available, please let me know if you have questions or comments, or if you need to meet with me. After I send that message, you have a week to set up a meeting with me if you have questions or concerns to discuss. What I'm trying to avoid is having to go back to exam 1 at the end of the semester. So my advice to you is to reach out to me if you have questions about your exam, if you feel that your grade was not good, or if you feel that something is missing. We can discuss that. The worst thing that can happen is that you end up with the same grade. Okay, so that's the worst thing, and I think that's pretty good. So if you're right, then and some extra credit is needed, I will do that. But you have to discuss with me within 1 week of the return of the graded material. Okay, so what else? So we have also a project associated with this class. I'm going to pass you the information about the project maybe next week, the instructions. The project is going to be a group project. I would like to see pairs, 2 people working together in the project. So if you have someone that you have in mind that is taking the class, reach out to them and see if you can start looking at for a person to work with for the project. I will create a list of people that have groups and people that doesn't have groups at some point next week or after next week, and until we can have all the groups that are needed for the project, and then we'll talk more about the project as we move forward. But I just want to mention that it's going to be a group project. So in case you wanna start finding a person to work with, then you can do that. If you have a grant or you have some type of assistantship, make sure that you satisfy the requirements. You follow all the instructions. Also for unofficial withdrawals and financial aid, make sure that you are following all the stipulation for those. You don't want to lose your grades. I'm sorry, your grants. Excuse me. You don't want to lose your scholarship or so on. So make sure that you're satisfying those requirements. So don't lose your financial aid if you have. Academic integrity is the responsibility of the students and instructors to help maintain scholastic integrity at the university by refusing to participate in or tolerate dishonesty. So make sure that you don't commit plagiarism. It will not be tolerated and will result in an F for the class. If you have a disability or any type, or if you need any type of accommodation, make sure that you reach out to me via email, and I'm going to do my best to accommodate your needs. If it is, if you have a letter from the university and you can forward that to me, that'll be great. So make sure that you do that as early as possible so I can work with you. This is the schedule. Topics that are going to be covered in the semester per date. And if you have access to the book, I have listed the sections that are covered based on the topics from the book. Something that I like to do every first day is to talk about email etiquette. The reason I'm doing this is because we got some comments from the industry advisory board from the Ingram School of Engineering. They were complaining about students reaching out to some of these companies and the way they connected with the how I say this, the way emails are written, they are not professionally written. Okay, so they want us to somehow train our students to make sure that when they communicate with a company contact, they are writing these emails in a professional manner. Um, so part of the instructions that I'm going to discuss now are for the class, but also to help you improve those skills, because those they're looking for that. They're looking for people that are professionally trained, and the communication aspect of that is very important. So email communication is one of those aspects. So when mailing a teacher or a potential employer, always include the full name and your name or in the subject has to be clear. For this class, the full name and course. This is for in the message, include your class, what the email is specifically regarding in the subject. So for example, if you are 4355, you have a question, the number of the class is important because I'm teaching 2 different courses. So if you email me with a question, then I need to figure out if you're from one class or the other. So at some point, I'm going to learn your names and I'm going to associate your name with the class. But at least at the beginning of the semester, it's important that you include the course code, so I know which course you're referring to. And then the email basic is you salute, the name of the person you're sending the email to, the body of the email, and then your name. Try to keep the email brief, one screen. Respond to emails within the same time span we will do for a phone call. So I will never email you directly unless it's really important. Okay, so I want that to be clear. If I typically send messages to the students and I do it through the Canvas tool, and the same email goes to all the students. But if I send you an email to you individually, it's because it's very important. So I would like, if you get one of those emails during the semester, make sure that you respond on a timely manner. You might go through the semester without getting an email from me that is individually for you. Typically those are because there's something wrong. So don't get scared, just try to respond as quickly as possible. Check for spelling, punctuation, and grammar errors before clicking send, and use a professional font, not decorative. In terms of the attachments, just make sure that you write a name in the attachment that is associated with the subject, or like if this attachment is for assignment 3 and you can put your last name, assignment 3. That tells me what the attachment is for. If you can use PDF for submissions, much better. You should email your teacher if you have an easy questions that can be answered in a paragraph or less, or you have an assignment that you're allowed to submit via email. If there's some topics that needs a lot of email exchanges, it's better to discuss face-to-face. So for those, I would prefer to schedule a Zoom call and then we can talk. Don't bring any topic that require continuous conversation. If things become heated, there's a large risk for misunderstanding, so it's better to talk face-to-face. That has never happened to me, but I know that communication via email or text, sometimes you cannot get the whole picture of the of the communication. So if you think, like, for example, you have questions about the exam and you think that that is going to take a long, multiple emails to be exchanged in order to get to a certain point, it would be better to schedule just a face-to-face Zoom call, and we can discuss that via the call. One more thing. This is information about me. I'm from Puerto Rico. I am an industrial engineer. I have my license. I graduated from the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez in 2004. I worked for a year in the service industry for a financial institution. Then I went and pursued a PhD, graduated in 2010 from Texas A&M University in College Station, then did a postdoc in optimization till 2012, and then I got hired at Texas State University. I've been here for 8 years now. In addition to teaching, as all professors at Texas State, we do research. So we continuously do research with other organizations. So right now I'm doing research with the Department of Homeland Security and also doing research with the Department of State of Health Services in Texas with the COVID-19 situation. So we typically have multiple research projects going on. So if you're interested in research, you can reach out to me or to any other faculty member in the English School of Engineering to discuss research opportunities. Any questions? So this is my last, sorry, questions? No?
No
Okay.
questions.
Awesome. So if you have questions and you don't feel like you want to ask them now, you can send me an email. I will respond to you. But if there's no questions, then I will, as I mentioned during this lecture, I will post the video for today, later tonight. And then on Thursday, you will have access to the module for Thursday with the video link and also the material that are going to be used for the lecture, like the slides and so on. And then at 5 p.m., I'm going to be available to answer any other question. And also I have office hours at 2 o'clock. So if you need to talk to me, you can connect at the office hours at 2 o'clock on Thursday, or you can connect at 5 p.m. At the beginning of the lecture, I'll be available. If there's no other questions, then we are done. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, Professor.
Bye-bye.